Hello, hello, my loves, and how are we doing? Welcome to EQ with Jah. I am Joanne. So, I realize that in the world of spirituality, there are a lot of terms that sound very drastic. And I've learned that as I've gone deeper into this realm of, just the subconscious mind and the conscious mind and the soul being and the soul remembrance and all of these, very esocentric and very deep emotional things, we get lost again in the outside projection of how we use terms and the pictures that get attached to it. That's why interpretation is so very, very, very important and vital to understanding comprehension and your own understanding of how to project what you're trying to say. Sometimes, again, the thing that I think one that really jumps out to me is the ego death. You hear the term ego death, and it sounds like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have to get rid of my identity, who I am, what I feel I represent. And that's the moment in the ego that we get the opportunity to see that there's a lot of defense mechanisms that we used to learn how to be seen. And for that being seen, we equated it to love, appreciation, admiration, whatever. But then the ego chases that and it gets lost. You know what I mean? Like, the people pleasing and all that stuff and overly judging yourself and critiquing yourself. So there was something that I wrote that I wanted to say. It's kind of like, think of this idea. You have to let go of an old reaction and behavior in order for it to be an ego death. Recognizing it is awareness, and it's a great place to be, and understanding that I'm aware of my behavior and the things that I've done in reaction to because I was trained this way, taught this way, conditioned this way. So be it. Then you get the opportunity to not only do you get to I wanted to say, like, this is not a character flaw. You want to remember that an alternative and options are different. The ego has only been taught what we've been taught in a linear perspective, which are all alternatives, either this or that, because somebody else has decided that that third option wasn't necessary for you to have because they've deemed this better. For a while, that worked for civilization to grow and for society to get where it is now. But emotionally, we did not give ourselves options. Now remember, options are infinite, they're endless. An option literally means there's more to come. There's options to the choices that you're making, which then give you the opportunity to then have an alternative of choice to dwindle it down if you want to do so or choose to do so. This is important to understanding what an actual ego death is. The ego is only our awareness of ourselves, and if we are not aware of ourselves, then we will become a projected or absorbed or transferred energy of someone else. This is why they say, oh, peer pressure or be a role model. All of these things matter because, again, this is how we adapt to our environments by watching and observing our environment and then growing with it or, adapting to it or whatever we do to fit in. As it stands, we have only been cutting out and not adding back, which is why the ego can grow so big. But the byproduct has been the trauma that's been done to the dirty roots. The dirty roots are good. Again, dirty doesn't mean bad, but the dirty roots mean they have stuff on them. They haven't been washed off. They haven't been made spick and span and clean for someone else's interpretation of the presentation. You know what I mean? Like, who says dirty vegetables aren't pretty? To me, I see life. It's a vegetable. I know I'm going to rinse it off when I eat it, but what does it matter if it's rinsed off? But somebody else decided commercial value. It looks better when the dirt's washed off. It just looks better, and everyone's like, yeah, yeah. To me, that doesn't change that it still came from dirty roots. The dirty roots is what gives you your foundation. They're what give you your source. They're what take all the weather and all the things that they have to go through to keep supplying you what you need to grow. So this is that recognition of the ego cannot be like, I made this world. Okay, what'd you make? A house? Did you make water? No, but I made cars. Did you make the electricity? Well, no, we harnessed that. But did you make air? You know what I mean? We can go on and on and on. Source is God, which is the things that everything lives off of. If you stop eating and drinking water today, you're probably going to decay. That's the point. That's the principle. So why would I praise another alternative or deity that has been that of a man, which is the shape of a person, a human, not a biological part? I mean, the human, which is like all of us that represents this body type that carries a consciousness that's able to replicate mechanically what the universe can do naturally. Okay? That's where the ego has to fall to a side and say, I'm only here as part of the giving back. I'm only here to be a vessel to see, to give back information to the universe on how to keep giving back. This is what the universe lives to do, and this is why we live. When we say we have no purpose, then you're saying that the universe has no purpose. This is how we look and how we've been treating it. I mean, if you really think about pollution, the environment, and everything else, agriculture, and the ag farm, and all of these things that take life, but it's not reproducing life. Everything in the cycle of life is to reproduce and give back. So if your ego is only feeding something that doesn't even know what it's feeding, that means that you have to be aware of that behavior. And when you say, oh, I don't really want to behave that way anymore, that's an ego death. That's it. It's not even about a negative thing. In a positive outlook on it, you can be that type of person where you're not used to getting compliments. You refuse to take a compliment. And then someone gives you a compliment, you're like, oh, no. It's like, no, just allow the compliment. That's to say no to somebody else's interpretation of beauty, which is you. Why are you taking away that moment to shine, or the compliment, or the universe trying to just say, hey, I see you? No. That's an ego moment, because the ego conditioned you to believe, may it have been someone on the outside world who taught you, or your observation and transferring and absorption of that environment into your consciousness, that is whatever you decide to replicate. That's when you have to start saying, is this ego pattern giving me the fulfillment I need to get closer to my purpose? There's a lot of things that people don't like about a lot of people. If they're rich, this or that. Being rich does not mean that you have done your trauma work, shadow work, past life work, any of that. It just means you learn how to succeed in a world that romanticizes that. You know what I mean? Like, we're now going back to a point of, yeah, I can have everything in the world, but if I'm alone and I'm lonely, what's it matter? Bam, that's an ego death. Because now you're recognizing everyone is here to do the same thing. I understand that things that we have done to each other as humans suck, but we're not any more special than any other species on this earth that does its part in just existing, procreating, and being part of the grand design that the universe has decided to use us for. So when we collectively say ego death, it's not about you changing yourself and your diet and how you talk and all of these things that have come with the package of spirituality, which has now become kind of distorted in the sense of understanding what the ego needs versus what the ego feeds on. The ego does need to understand its purpose, but it doesn't need to be validated for how it is growing or how it looks. That's the same as for any of us. So if someone's judging you while you're trying to grow, why would you want to grow? The seed naturally knows to hold in until the proper nutrients hits it for it to grow. If it's not fertile soil, then it's not going to grow. If it's not a fertile environment, then it's not going to grow. The seed understands this. You know what I mean? This is part of our soul purpose here. But the ego purpose is to allow the soul to express itself however it needs to express itself without getting embarrassed from a fear conditioning that it's not worthy. This where it's all coming from is a non-worthiness that you're always worthy. I wanted to say the last thing that I wrote down was, there really is no such thing as right or wrong. There's a such thing as healthy for viable cells to grow, to keep procreating whatever it needs to procreate for the organism to keep working. That's it. If it's not healthy, then it just means it's not viable. The process of elimination through the universe is it will decay and fall apart, but that byproduct gets used as another way to help something else be catalyzed into growth. This is the purpose of having an ego death. When you allow yourself to see that you are no longer something that represents growth, and then you get the opportunity to water that opportunity to grow, then you continually keep seeing how the ego only wants to serve a purpose that is for its higher self. And that's why we always feel like, I'm bored. This life is so annoying. I always tell people I'm not any different than anyone else. I always say I am really bored with this life. And some people are like, oh, what does it mean? It's like, no, I'm not saying that I'm bored, like I don't want to be on this earth. I'm saying sometimes life can be boring. But it's my opportunity to ask my ego, well, what's so boring about it? What do you need to do, or what do we need to do to help appease your excitement for you to feel like you are serving your purpose? Because purpose is always going to be ignited by passion. And that's when I question myself, well, am I producing content? Am I writing? Am I expressing myself the way I need to? If the answer is no, then that's my answer to why that's why you're bored. It doesn't always have to serve a purpose for others, but it should serve a purpose for you. And if the purpose helps others, then that's the bigger beauty of it. But you need to make sure it's something that's helping you stay healthy within an ego that allows you to help your soul mind and your ego mind to blend together. These two minds, remember the right and left brain, the creative brain to me is the soul mind, okay? And if we're gonna say the left brain is the logical brain, the practical brain, that's fine. But the emotional creativity brain, that is the right brain, the feminine energy, the thing that says, yes, I am willing to be a part of this creation. Wherever you want me to grow, I'll grow. Whatever we wanna do, we'll do it. As long as I know ego, masculine, phallic, you have the foundation held down for me to do so, for me to be a healthy, viable part of this environment that's going to give back. Ego deaths have to happen in order for you to see how you can give back. If you stay within an ego, then you're in your shell and you're not growing. Do you understand? That means you're in a dormant energy at that time and you're not going to grow because you're refusing to grow. Remember, anything can grow anywhere. It has to choose to grow there based on the DNA that allows it to feel that it wants to do so. If it feels safe, it will grow there. If it doesn't feel safe, it won't grow there. It's up to you how you utilize it, but you have to start understanding that if something doesn't make sense, research it, but also allow yourself to play with the meaning and the terms. You know, I always say, like, I posted a video, like, you know, spirituality does not mean that I don't have an opinion and that I won't ladies' hands. Like, I'm a grown man. But that doesn't mean that I need to live in a condition of feeling like I would promote violence or something. No, I understand that my foundation is to be a stable man who's able to protect my offspring someday if I need to. Not that I have to, but I'd rather know that I can do it than hope that someone else won't do it. You feel me? All right. So again, allow yourself to, again, that term ebb and flow is, there's a cycle of allowing and doing. That's it, is allowing and doing. There's something that's helping do it and there's something that's allowing it to do it. And if your ego is stopping you from growing into the soul path that you were placed on here for, because again, something incarnated your body in your mother's womb for you to grow. Whatever you want to believe, you don't choose to just fall asleep on your own. It just happens. Okay? So there's a consciousness that's there that decides when it wants to turn on this avatar and turn it off. Be a part of the process to be able to give way to say, hey, I can help you through this, but here is a few of my boundaries and rules that's going to help me feel safe so that we can grow properly and we can keep giving back in a way that's healthy. Okay, so ego deaths are healthy. They're not meant to be scary. I know they sound scary, but I hope that kind of like gave you a bunch of options versus just the alternatives. I talk a lot because I want you to have a plethora of information to walk away with versus here are these two things, make a choice. That's me forcing energy on you. If you ever feel that, that's an ego forcing something on you. And if it doesn't feel right, say no. That's an ego death. You just upgraded and now you get to walk into a higher soul path that gets to let you build the foundation and future to grow properly for you. I love you. As always, check me out on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, epicinity.org, where you find my blogs and videos and archives of other videos. As always, I love you. Take care of yourselves. Besos. Mwah, 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 mwah.